June 16th, 1944. The sky above Normandy is overcast, thick clouds hanging low as if weighed down by the tension that gripped the land below. The distant hum of aircraft engines echoes in the air as Allied bombers make their way to their targets. The rolling fields and dense forests that stretch across the French countryside are punctuated by the occasional burst of gunfire and the rumble of tanks on the move. In the midst of this chaos, a German general's assistant, unaware of the seismic impact of his actions, sits at a small, dimly lit communication post within the heart of the German command structure. The assistant, his uniform a stark contrast to the worn, dusty walls around him, adjusts the dial on a radio transmitter, attempting to connect with another officer stationed further north. The air is thick with the constant crackle of static. His hands tremble slightly, his mind caught in the pressure of the moment. With the Allied invasion of Normandy still fresh in the minds of both sides, every communication, every transmission is fraught with the weight of life and death. But in his haste, the assistant makes a simple yet catastrophic mistake. The signal he broadcasts is not to the intended recipient, but instead a different frequency entirely, one that is being intercepted by Allied listening stations. The brief moment of static crackles, followed by a faint signal, sends ripples through the chain of command. A misdial, a single error, unnoticed by the assistant, now sets in motion a series of events that will change the course of the war. At a nearby Allied intelligence outpost, the hum of the listening equipment goes unnoticed at first, just another typical broadcast. But then, one of the signals catches the attention of a skilled operator. He leans in closer, his fingers dancing across the dials as the noise sharpens. It's not just static, it's a misdialed transmission, an unfamiliar code in the middle of the frequencies. His heart quickens, recognizing the importance of even the smallest piece of information in this high-stakes game. Minutes tick by as the operator adjusts his equipment, listening intently, trying to separate the real from the noise. The signal, now clearer, begins to contain more than just random static. It is a voice, German, crisp, but laced with urgency. The assistant is speaking to another officer, details of troop movements and logistical concerns slipping from his lips with alarming ease. But there is more. Through the crackling transmission, an unintentionally revealing piece of information emerges: the general's location. The Allies, through a simple radio interception, now have a clue that could lead them straight to a high-ranking German officer. The transmission continues for a few more moments, and the operator, his pulse racing, jots down the coordinates. It's a thread, faint but significant, and it is the first of many that will pull the Allies ever closer to a prize they could scarcely have hoped to find so easily, a captured general whose value could be immeasurable. With urgency, the signal is relayed to higher intelligence officers who immediately recognize the potential. They analyze the data, piecing together the pieces of this unexpected opportunity. The general in question is one of the key officers coordinating German operations in Normandy. His capture, they realize, would be a massive blow to the enemy, both strategically and psychologically. But for now, the Allies can only wait and plan. The misdialed radio signal, now the centerpiece of a covert operation, serves as a stark reminder of the thin line between chaos and order in war. A single mistake, one of many in the fog of battle, could unravel the plans of an entire army. June 17th, 1944. The mist of early morning clings to the fields of Normandy, a faint haze covering the countryside like a veil over a sleeping giant. The rumble of Allied tanks and the sporadic crackle of machine gun fire fill the air, signs of the ongoing battle. Yet in the heart of the German command center, a far more critical concern is unfolding, one that could shift the tide of the war. General Friedrich von Stauffenberg, an experienced and deeply entrenched officer in the German army, is unaware that his assistant's mistake has inadvertently made him a target. A man of immense importance to the German war effort, von Stauffenberg is tasked with overseeing key military operations in Normandy. His role, while not as visible as the top brass in Berlin, places him in a position of immense strategic influence. He coordinates troop movements, manages supply lines, and is responsible for the defense of vital sectors in the region. His capture could not come at a worse time for the Germans. With the Allies pushing further into occupied France, the loss of a senior officer of von Stauffenberg's stature would be a significant blow to the already overstretched German command structure. The Allies, having intercepted his location through the misdialed signal, now know that they have the opportunity to eliminate one of the pillars of the German defense in the region. But von Stauffenberg's importance goes beyond mere military logistics. His capture could open up a treasure trove of information for the Allies, offering insight into German operations, weaknesses in their command structure, and perhaps even the location of other high-ranking officers. The general is a crucial piece of the German war machine, and the Allies recognize that his value extends far beyond just his strategic knowledge. It is the psychological blow that his capture would deliver to the Germans that could tip the balance. The German High Command, already on edge from the D-Day landings and the relentless Allied push inland, has placed immense trust in von Stauffenberg. He has proven himself a capable, if not ruthless, strategist, and his hands are tied to some of the most critical decisions being made behind enemy lines. If he were to fall into Allied hands, it would not only cause a disruption in command, but could also spark panic among German forces who have relied on his leadership. The moment the Allies confirm von Stauffenberg's position through the intercepted radio transmission, the operation to capture him becomes more than just a tactical strike. It becomes a war-changing opportunity. High-level officers in London, including the brilliant but often overlooked intelligence chiefs, begin to piece together the full scope of von Stauffenberg's role. He is no ordinary officer, and the prize is not simply in his capture, but in what he could reveal about the German strategy in Normandy, the strength of their forces, and their vulnerabilities. Von Stauffenberg, for all his status, is not without his own problems. His health is deteriorating, the stress of war weighing heavily on him, and his constant battles with the bureaucratic machinery of the Nazi regime have made him few allies among the higher echelons of the German military. To the Allies, however, this personal strife matters little. He is a link in the chain, and if that link can be severed, the results could be far-reaching. In the days following the interception of the radio signal, Allied command begins to tighten their plans around von Stauffenberg's capture. His every move is shadowed by a web of intelligence operatives who comb through every bit of information, scrutinizing every detail from the misdialed message to the general's known movements. The Allies are not only after a man, they are after the secrets he holds, the plans he carries, and the knowledge that could expose the cracks in the German war machine. But the general, unaware of the growing storm around him, continues with his work. He meets with his staff, reviews military maps, and inspects the progress of German fortifications in Normandy. He is confident in the strength of the German position, and his focus remains on maintaining order in the face of the ongoing Allied offensive. The tension within the German ranks is palpable, but to von Stauffenberg it is merely the backdrop to the war, a war he believes he is still in control of. For the Allies, every hour brings them closer to the moment when they will strike. They know that time is of the essence, and the general's position could shift at any moment. The countdown has begun, and soon the man who has been steering German forces in Normandy will find himself at the center of a storm he never saw coming. June 18th, 1944. The sun breaks through the heavy clouds, casting fleeting rays over the battle-scarred landscape of Normandy. The Allied forces, entrenched in the region, continue their relentless advance, but in the shadows, far from the front lines, a different kind of warfare is unfolding, one of intelligence, codes, and intercepted signals. The misdialed radio transmission, now a crucial piece of the puzzle, is being analyzed with meticulous care by the best minds in Allied intelligence. The signal, once a mere ripple in the vast sea of transmissions, is now the focal point of a covert operation that could change the tide of the war. Within the darkened rooms of the British intelligence headquarters, a team of code breakers and analysts is working at full capacity, racing against the clock. Their task is clear: decipher the intercepted message, trace its origin, and use every tool available to pinpoint the exact location of the German general. Time is of the essence. Every minute wasted could mean the loss of this golden opportunity. In a small, dimly lit room filled with the hum of typewriters and the clacking of keys, Major Arthur Bennett, an experienced signals officer, pores over the transmission. His eyes dart between the deciphered portions of the message and the map in front of him, tracing lines and making notes in the margins. The information contained in the radio transmission, while not immediately obvious, contains a pattern, a series of numbers, a name, a date. It takes hours of painstaking work, but soon Bennett's team begins to make sense of it. The numbers, at first an indecipherable jumble, form a set of coordinates that point directly to a location in the French countryside, not far from the front lines. Bennett's heart races. The location matches the known movements of the German forces, and he begins to suspect that the general is not far from there. But there's more. One of the phrases in the transmission, Operation Silbermond, a reference to a German military strategy, pops out. It's not the first time the Allies have heard of it, but it's a critical clue. This operation involves a significant concentration of German forces in Normandy, and von Stauffenberg is closely tied to it. The pieces are beginning to fit together. With the coordinates now confirmed, Bennett and his team immediately begin to cross-check the information with satellite imagery and reconnaissance reports. A small village, tucked between two wooded hills, comes into focus. It's the perfect hiding place for a senior officer, far from the prying eyes of Allied forces, yet close enough to the action to be useful. This is where von Stauffenberg is likely to be, just miles from where the Allies have been battling to secure their beachheads. Back at Allied command, the news is met with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They now have a target, General Friedrich von Stauffenberg. But the information comes with its own set of risks. The general is heavily guarded, and the location is in the heart of occupied territory. To capture him, the Allies will need to coordinate a precise and covert operation. The window of opportunity is small. If the Germans realize they are being targeted, von Stauffenberg could vanish into the web of fortifications and escape routes that crisscross Normandy. Meanwhile, in London, the pressure mounts. The decision to act on the information is not an easy one. Commanders debate the best course of action, whether to send in a commando unit, an airstrike, or some other means of capturing the general. There are countless risks, not just to the soldiers involved, but to the entire war effort. A failed attempt could alert the Germans to the vulnerability of their command, causing them to tighten their grip and reinforce their defenses. Yet, as the hours pass and the sun dips lower in the sky, the decision is made. The Allies must move quickly. Major Bennett's team begins preparing for the next phase of the operation, pinpointing the exact moment when they will strike. The coordination between air and ground forces will be critical. Special forces are briefed, and intelligence is shared among key units, each knowing their role in this high-stakes mission. In the heart of German-controlled Normandy, General von Stauffenberg continues his routine, unaware that his every move is being tracked by the Allies. The tension is palpable as the Allies close in on their target. What had begun as a simple mistake, an errant radio transmission, has now turned into one of the most significant intelligence breakthroughs of the war. The operation is set in motion, and in a few short hours, the war will take an unexpected turn. June the 19th, 1944. The skies above Normandy are tinged with the soft golden light of late afternoon, casting long shadows over the battle-scarred fields. The distant hum of artillery fire reverberates through the air, but amidst the chaos, life for the German forces continues, at least, for those who remain behind the lines. General Friedrich von Stauffenberg, still unaware of the impending danger, sits at his command post in the small village of Saint-Martin-de-Varreville. He is in his element, a man of discipline and routine, ensuring that his plans unfold as intended. His headquarters is a fortified stone building, its windows shuttered against the outside world. Maps are spread across a wooden table, their edges frayed from constant use, marking the key positions of German forces along the coast. He pores over them intently, assessing troop movements, reinforcing supply lines, and reviewing his defenses in preparation for the expected Allied push. As von Stauffenberg works, the radio crackles in the background, the static barely audible over the murmur of his staff. The general's assistant, the same officer responsible for the misdialed transmission, is unaware that the Allies are already closing in. He moves between the room's dark corners, delivering messages and reports. But to von Stauffenberg, this is just another day at the office, one filled with the familiar humdrum of command. He is surrounded by his officers, all of them preoccupied with the immediate concerns of the war. They are focused, driven, and expectant. In these moments, there is no sense of danger, no inkling that their very position might be compromised. The general's mind remains set on the task at hand. There is no time for distractions, no time to wonder about the broader picture. The situation is critical. Germany's hold on Normandy is tenuous at best, and the threat of a full Allied breakthrough looms large. His thoughts are consumed with strategy and tactics, unaware that a simple misstep in communication, a misdialed radio signal, has just turned his position into a ticking time bomb. Outside the walls of the command post, the German defenses are preparing for an expected engagement with Allied forces. The air is heavy with anticipation, but the general, lost in his work, remains indifferent to the storm that is brewing outside. His mind is focused only on the microcosm of his command, the small world within those stone walls. His officers discuss movements, supply lines, and fortifications, each man absorbed in the details of their role. For von Stauffenberg, the war is an endless series of calculations, a chess game where every piece must be moved with precision. Unbeknownst to him, the Allies are not simply watching. They are already closing in. Allied special forces, having identified the location of his headquarters through the decoded radio transmission, are preparing for a covert operation to capture him. Their movements are coordinated with the precision of a well-oiled machine, ready to strike at the heart of the German command. But even as the Allies make their preparations, von Stauffenberg remains blissfully unaware of the imminent threat. His mind is far from the ever-watchful eyes of the enemy. He walks the halls of his command post, conferring with his officers, reviewing his plans. The tension within the walls grows thicker, but only because of the demands of war, not the immediate danger that lurks just outside. The general continues his inspection, making his way from one room to the next, his footsteps echoing in the stone corridors. He stops briefly at a window, glancing out toward the distant horizon, his expression thoughtful. The rolling fields stretch out before him, the occasional plume of smoke rising in the distance. The war, he believes, is a world of certainty, of strategy, of order, of command. As he turns back to his officers, he hears the familiar hum of the radio once again, the crackling static growing louder. His assistant, oblivious to the catastrophic mistake he made just days ago, continues to send and receive transmissions. In a strange twist of fate, the very thing that could have saved the general's life, the assistant's vigilance, becomes the source of his undoing. For a moment, von Stauffenberg pauses. He has grown accustomed to the sound of his communications device, but this time the static feels different, almost foreboding. The room grows still, his officers now paying attention. The radio crackles once more, and the general's attention sharpens. The frequency is wrong. This is not the normal line of communication. The voice that emerges is unfamiliar, distorted, yet unmistakably urgent. His assistant steps forward, adjusting the dial once more, but by now it is too late. The Allies have already intercepted the signal, and von Stauffenberg's every movement is being tracked. The general's escape route, one he has relied on countless times before, is no longer secure. The Allies are coming for him, and he remains blissfully unaware. But the danger is real, and it is closing in fast. The moment for action is rapidly approaching. The Allies, though still a distance away, are ready to strike. The quiet calm that has enveloped von Stauffenberg's command post is about to be shattered. A web has been cast, and the German general is caught in its threads. June 20th, 1944. The once peaceful fields of Normandy are now stained with the echoes of battle. The Allies' relentless advance continues, but in a quiet corner of the French countryside, the next crucial operation is about to unfold. In the small village of Saint-Martin-de-Varreville, General Friedrich von Stauffenberg's command post remains, shrouded in its customary calm, yet its days are numbered. The Allies, with a strike that will change the course of the war, are about to execute a plan set in motion by nothing more than a misdialed radio signal. At the break of dawn, Allied special forces begin to position themselves, their movements swift and silent. A hand-picked unit, known for its expertise in covert operations, has been tasked with one goal: capture von Stauffenberg. The plan is simple but fraught with danger, an immediate surgical strike to capture the German general before he has a chance to flee or respond. Their approach is shrouded in secrecy, their movements carefully coordinated to avoid detection by German patrols. The clock is ticking, and every second brings them closer to their target. The convoy of vehicles rolls through the winding country roads, the soft crunch of gravel beneath the wheels, muffled by the soundproofing of their vehicles. The men inside are tense but focused, their mission clear in their minds. They are not just after a German officer, they are after a key to breaking the enemy's control over Normandy. They know that capturing von Stauffenberg will send a powerful message to the Germans. It will be a symbol of Allied strength and an unimaginable blow to the enemy's morale. As the convoy draws closer, von Stauffenberg remains oblivious. He continues to review his plans in the command post, moving with the same purposeful efficiency he has displayed throughout the war. The radio crackles once more, but this time the general dismisses it. It is just another transmission, another communication, one of many that flood his day. But little does he know that the Allies are already here, just moments away from striking. In the final moments before the operation unfolds, a tense quiet falls over the Allied team. They approach the village under the cover of the dense trees, their movements synchronized with military precision. Every man knows his role. Some are to secure the perimeter, while others will storm the command post itself. The risks are immense. There is no room for error. A single slip-up could alert the Germans to their presence, and any hint of resistance could jeopardize the mission. The order is given, and the strike begins. The Allied soldiers move quickly and decisively, their weapons drawn, their training kicking in. They reach the outer limits of the village undetected, and within moments they have surrounded the stone building that houses von Stauffenberg's headquarters. A faint knock on the door, a quick signal, and the team moves in. The operation is too swift for the Germans to react. Inside, the general staff is caught off guard, the sudden intrusion of foreign soldiers throwing them into a brief but chaotic confusion. But the operation is precise. Every officer in the room is quickly subdued. Von Stauffenberg, stunned by the sudden assault, attempts to reach for a sidearm, but before he can act, a firm grip closes around his arm. In the span of seconds, his world shifts from one of control and authority to that of a prisoner. His capture is swift, methodical, and without the heroic resistance one might expect from such a high-ranking officer. The Allies have struck with such speed that the general never even had a chance to react. As the general is escorted from the command post, his officers look on helplessly, unable to stop the unfolding drama. In their eyes, a mix of disbelief and fear, a fear not just for their own lives, but for the repercussions of losing their commander. The whispers begin immediately. How could this happen? How did they find us? But for the Allies, the capture of von Stauffenberg is nothing short of a triumph. As the general is taken into custody, the impact of his capture ripples through the German command structure. The loss of such a key officer sends shockwaves through the ranks. The Allies have struck a blow to the heart of the German operations in Normandy, and in the days that follow, the effects will become clearer. For von Stauffenberg, the reality of being a prisoner of war sinks in. He is no longer the confident commanding officer overseeing operations. He is a pawn in a larger game, his fate now in the hands of the enemy. His capture marks the beginning of a new chapter in the war, one that the Germans will struggle to recover from. For the Allies, it is a moment of victory, a moment that proves the power of intelligence, of patience, and of seizing the unexpected opportunity that can turn the tide of war. The general is transported to a secure Allied facility, where his interrogation begins immediately. Every detail of his knowledge, his insights into German strategy, his knowledge of the defense systems in Normandy, and any other intelligence he possesses will be extracted. Von Stauffenberg, though a man of steel resolve, will soon realize that the secrets he holds are now more valuable than his command. The capture of General von Stauffenberg is not just a tactical success for the Allies, it is a symbolic victory. It represents the ability to strike at the heart of the enemy, to seize control when it seems least likely. The Allies, with their eyes fixed on the larger strategy, now hold a key that could unlock the success of their entire campaign in France. June 22nd, 1944. The capture of General Friedrich von Stauffenberg has sent ripples throughout the German command structure. His detainment, once unthinkable, is now a reality that the Allies are poised to capitalize on. In the quiet aftermath of the operation, the world of warfare continues to spin, but for both the Allies and the Germans, the stakes have been dramatically raised. Back in Allied headquarters, the news of the general's capture is met with a mixture of disbelief and exultation. Allied commanders, who had hoped for a breakthrough but never expected such a swift and precise victory, begin to recalibrate their strategies. Von Stauffenberg's knowledge of German positions, troop movements, and fortified lines could prove invaluable. His capture could provide the Allies with not only military intelligence, but also a strategic advantage that would hasten the end of the conflict in Normandy. In London and Washington, intelligence officers pore over the reports detailing the operation, dissecting every moment of the mission that brought von Stauffenberg into their custody. The Allies now have access to a trove of information that could change the course of the war. Maps, documents, and strategic plans that had been closely guarded by the German High Command are now within their reach. The Allies, aware of the general's influence, begin to sift through the intelligence, cross-referencing it with the data already in their possession. For the Germans, the loss of von Stauffenberg is a devastating blow. The man who had masterminded much of their strategic planning in Normandy is now gone. The immediate consequences are felt on the front lines, where German forces struggle to coordinate their movements in the wake of his capture. The psychological impact on the troops is palpable. What had been a confident, entrenched defensive strategy now seems vulnerable. Rumors spread quickly through the German ranks, and the morale of the soldiers stationed in Normandy begins to waver. The Allies waste no time in exploiting their newfound advantage. Armed with the intelligence from von Stauffenberg's capture, they launch a series of calculated strikes against weak points in the German defenses. Key supply routes are severed, and strongholds that had once seemed impenetrable are now exposed. The general's information becomes the blueprint for a series of tactical maneuvers that force the Germans into a defensive posture they had not anticipated. In short order, the Allies press their advantage, and the momentum begins to shift in their favor. Meanwhile, back in the prisoners' camp, von Stauffenberg's fate is being sealed. He is subjected to a relentless interrogation, his every answer carefully scrutinized by Allied officers eager to extract every ounce of information. Despite his resolve, the general begins to realize the weight of his situation. His capture is more than just a personal defeat. It is a blow to the entire German war effort. The Allies have not only taken a strategic leader, but also one of the key pieces in the German command chain. The war effort, once carefully orchestrated, is now in disarray. The loss of von Stauffenberg sends shockwaves through the German command, and his absence creates a power vacuum. Senior officers scramble to fill the void left by his capture, but the disruption is undeniable. German forces in Normandy are now struggling to regain their footing, and the Allies take full advantage of this confusion. The gap in leadership becomes a key factor in the eventual downfall of German defenses in the region. For the German High Command, the consequences of von Stauffenberg's capture are far-reaching. His knowledge, particularly his insight into Operation Silbermond and the state of German fortifications in Normandy, is critical. The information he provided during his interrogation will play a pivotal role in the destruction of several key German positions. The Allies, armed with this knowledge, are able to launch a series of successful offensives that push the Germans further back and force them into a retreat. Von Stauffenberg's capture is not just a tactical victory for the Allies, it is a turning point in the war. It signals the weakening of German resistance in Normandy and marks a shift in the strategic momentum. The psychological blow to the German army is as significant as the physical one, and the Allies capitalize on this to continue their push into France. The fall of one man, a high-ranking general, has a cascading effect on the entire war effort. In the weeks that follow, the Allies begin to systematically dismantle German defenses across Normandy. The once impenetrable lines begin to crumble as the Germans scramble to respond to the new realities of war. Von Stauffenberg's absence is felt across the battlefield, and his intelligence, now in Allied hands, becomes the key to breaking the German stranglehold on the region. For the Allies, the operation to capture von Stauffenberg will go down in history as one of the most successful intelligence-driven missions of the war. It is a testament to the power of patience, precision, and the unexpected opportunities that arise in the heat of battle. What began as a simple mistake, a misdialed radio transmission, has transformed into a pivotal moment that shifts the balance of power in Normandy and ultimately contributes to the downfall of Nazi Germany. The capture of General Friedrich von Stauffenberg is a reminder of the fragility of command in war, where a single misstep can unravel the most carefully laid plans. But for the Allies, it is a symbol of victory, a victory that, while born from a small error, would have profound and lasting consequences on the course of the war.